Hello again, I am Blunty, and this is the Pokeball Plus controller accessory. It's a Nintendo Switch controller that only works with one game, only has 2 buttons, and, in Australian currency, costs $69.95 beer acquiring units, and this seems pretty friggin' steep for a gimmick toy at first, but to be fair, this is also the price of a single Joy-Con, and the two devices do share much when it comes to their electronics and stuff, so that pricing makes a little more sense in that context. Inside, of course, is the wireless stuff, the battery, the speaker, the lights, the haptic motor feedback, the thumbstick, and all the bits and pieces it needs to actually work as a controller for the Switch. It even has bits it doesn't actually need, like Nintendo's ongoing tech service hate crime of tri-wing screws. Inside its onboard memory is also a Mew, a rare mythical Pokemon that you can transfer across to your Pokemon Let's Go Eevee or Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu game, which is neat, but it also rubs me the wrong way a little bit, effectively paywalling a Pokemon behind hardware DLC. Unless, of course, you want to spend time, effort, and potentially cash playing the microtransaction-festooned mobile game, Pokemon Go, and have a third-party company track your location and other personal information and sell it off to God knows who. Also, you can jump through a bunch of hoops to maybe catch a Mew, and then transfer it across to your real-world Pokemon game. F that in the A for a joke. Anyway, once you've emptied the Pokeball Plus of that precious Mew, you can transfer any other Pokemon to it from Pokemon Let's Go Eevee or Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. You can then walk around with it, you can rock it, you can press the buttons and quote-unquote play with the Pokemon inside, which will make noises and vibrate and such in response, and doing all this will get you some experience points for said Pokemon. And they're not insignificant experience points either. In just an hour and a half walking around, I got like 7,000 experience points. It is a neat gimmick, but quite limited and not especially engaging, if I'm honest with you. Not in the same way the Poker Walker was back in the day, which was a similar idea. It did similar things, but had significantly more functionality, a variety of minigames, and a screen. But the Pokeball Plus's main purpose is, of course, to work as a fun little theme-appropriate controller for Pokemon Let's Go, which itself is a little bit annoying because having only 2 buttons, the thumbstick can press in for the A button and you've got a little soft squishy button on the top there for the B button. You can also give it a little bit of a shake, which effectively is a Y button press, which the game does not tell you about and the instruction manual does not tell you about. You just kind of have to figure it out on your own or have someone tell you. There's a little gotcha there. But there are things in the game that become harder to do or take longer to do because Game Freak has made no attempt to account for this reduced functionality controller and left prompts up for other buttons, like the plus button on the controller, for example, and you can't take screenshots with this thing and all that kind of stuff. But for the large part, it does work just fine for most of the gameplay. And the big question I get asked when I'm using it on my live streams playing through the game is simply, is the Pokeball Plus worth it? The short answer to that is, kinda. If you're getting it for a small child, which, let's be fair, is the intended audience here, the gimmicks, the lights and sounds and such will be entertaining. They'll get a lot of fun out of it, I expect. If you are a more casual player, maybe this is your onboarding into Pokemon, maybe you're a Pokemon Go player trying to find out what the real games are actually all about, maybe you haven't played Pokemon since you were a kid and you're just coming back to it because the hype about this game is real, then no, spending 2 cases of decent beer worth of money on this thing isn't going to be worth it. It just isn't. Get the beer instead. Or, if you don't like beer, give me the money, and I'll drink it away. 'Tis the season to get sloppy drunk after all. But, if you are a more passionate, grown-up Pokemon fan, then yeah, it may very well be worth it. I certainly don't have any buyer's remorse, and I'm a fully grown adult who's been playing Pokemon for 20-odd years, even though the small sphere is really not a very ergonomic shape for a controller, and even though it's less comfortable for long hours of play than a regular Joy-Con, and even though it really is too small for my giant grown-up man paws, I still like playing with it. The stronger and more defiant haptic feedback is nice, the sounds it makes when catching or successfully trapping a Pokemon is kind of fun, and the overall gimmick of playing a Pokemon game with the Pokeball does sprinkle on just a little bit extra joy over this surprisingly fun game. I've also found its motion controls to be a little bit more reliable and consistent than playing with the Joy-Con has been for the throwing mechanic in the game. Which is actually a surprise, given that being a sphere, there's no intuitive physical orientation for your muscle memory to develop to. There's no pointy end, there's no forward. But it turns out the relative positioning for the motion control action is set when you press the button to start the catching mechanic in the game, and it's reset every time you do that, so it's always calibrated to its own relative position, however you're holding it. This is also true of the Joy-Con, but it seems to work just a bit better with this. Perhaps because the Joy-Con does set relative position, but the Joy-Con also has a very clear forward position, being the shape it is. And if those two don't align properly, your muscle memory may get it wrong. For some, being able to level up a Pokemon while you commute to and from your day job will be handy as well. For others, its functionality with Pokemon Go will be nice, if you're one of those people. And the bottom line of it all is, it's a classically Nintendo controller, and by that all I mean is it's very clearly built extremely well. From material choice to assembly, it all just feels really well made. It feels pleasant in hand. Very pleasant, as a matter of fact. So yeah, is it worth it? Well, if you're a Pokemaniac or a joyful kid, sure. Casual players, it's a bit on the steep side of the price scale for what is, at the end of it all, just a fun little gimmick that has little to no use at all outside of this one particular game. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I'll catch you next time.